Good afternoon and welcome to We Believe Digital Studios, downtown Jackson, Mississippi. So glad that you're joining us today for the We Believe Digital News Break program. And I got a dozen or so stories to share with you today. Things are going on. We'll start right out on the local level with a story that comes from WJTV. And they learned that the Jackson State Faculty Senate has spoken again. Isn't it interesting? Every so often we hear from the Faculty Senate, and on yesterday they issued a no confidence vote on their own Office of Academic Affairs. They cited a long list of concerns, including low morale among faculty and a climate of fear and retaliation. For Associate Provost Dr. Brandy Newkirk Turner, this is her second no confidence vote. There are other administrators on the list. Jackson State President Dr. Marcus Thompson, new on the job, released the following statement to the Faculty Senate and to WJTV 12 News. President Thompson said, "I'm very disappointed to learn that the Faculty Senate has taken this drastic step of issuing a vote of no confidence against the Office of Academic Affairs 66 days into my administration. Proper assessment of a large higher education institution takes time. It is important to recognize that the Faculty Senate is free to express its opinions and its concerns will be considered. However, the authority and responsibility of administrative matters, including the assignment of personnel, remains within the purview of my office." He goes on to say, "I've met with the Faculty Senate Executive Board previous to express my support of shared governance. While I remain committed to the same, I will continue to evaluate the various university departments and will not be forced to a premature decision by today's vote. As a new president, it is my hope to work collaboratively within the JSU family to resolve any internal issues." So just getting settled at the desk, and you got this pressure from the Faculty Senate. So obviously they have their reasons, and he's trying to make it clear that he's just getting started, and he plans on doing his job. So I look forward to seeing that over time. Another story, this one from WLBT, the Three on Your Side channel. A Jackson family reeling from the loss of a popular DJ and small business owner killed while driving on North State Street. This is just a few days ago. The gunfire that took Anthony Davis Jr.'s life robbed his family and the community of a hard worker and a new father. Quote, "He was a very lively person, full of life," said Jennifer Davis. "He had so many aspirations and dreams that he was trying to reach for," unquote. 3 days after Davis was shot and killed, his mother, Jennifer, and father, Anthony Davis Sr., were surrounded by family as they remembered their youngest son. He was known to many as DJ Chew. Monday evening, Davis's supervisor contacted his mother when he couldn't reach him. Quote, "And he said that Anthony had not made it back to work, and that's unusual, and he went to drop a client off because he works at Enterprise," said Jennifer Davis, the mother. Relatives located Anthony's phone and learned of the tragic news. Quote, "You're working, you're on your way to work, doing your job, and all of a sudden you just leave this world. Just like that, point blank," said his father, Anthony Davis Sr. "I mean, I don't understand. I never will," said the father. The close-knit family is still in shock and at a loss for words when sharing the news with his young nieces and nephews. Quote, "He's the baby of 7, the baby," said his sister Antoinette Davis. "He just had a birthday, just had a child. Like I say, he was happy to be a dad. The city loved him. The family blames high-powered guns in the hands of uncaring people for the violence. Despite their suffering, their faith has given them strength. They are asking for the public's help to solve the case." Moving to the state news, We remind our viewers all the time on this program that today is just another day that your elected Republican leadership for the entire state of Mississippi apparently doesn't feel any obligation, doesn't sense any responsibility whatsoever to hold hearings about the largest fraud scandal in state history. Upwards, the highest number I've seen is $97 million pilfered, stolen by Republican governors and their appointees. Some of these people have already pleaded guilty, yet the legislature, controlled with a supermajority by Republicans, all of them white, have chosen not to hold any hearings. I mean, somebody steals something from your house, seem like the family sit down and talk about it, don't they? Well, these people don't want to do that. And there's probably a very good reason why they don't want to do that, and because they're hiding. Because something like this couldn't go on under just the knowledge and actions of just a handful of people. Had to be many, many more people that knew about these goings on. Stealing this money, earmarked by the federal government for the poorest families in Mississippi, which is the poorest state in the nation. It's like a double dose of sin, and these people all call themselves Christians, but that it's just hypocritical. Any one of them, a Christian of good moral fiber, any one of them could come to the microphone, come right here to We Believe Digital, and sit down on this stool next to me and call for hearings. The door is wide open. We invite you here. And now, we'll leave the light on, but honest to God, we're not really expecting that to happen. But where are the people of good character that know that the right thing to do is hold hearings on this? Where are they at? Why are they not coming forward? Have you heard any of them say anything meaningful about this TANF scandal, about these families being robbed, and about calling for hearings? I have not heard one. So, and we reelect a governor. We reelect a governor by about 4 percentage points who absolutely had a hand in this. There's all kinds of emails out there. This Paul Lacoste, Victory Sports, fitness boot camps for legislators. You think the fitness boot camps were just for the Lieutenant Governor Reeves back in that day? You think it was just for him? You think he was the only one going to the gym? You think for $1.3 million, you think he was the only one getting training from this Victory Sports Academy or Paul Lacoste Sports or whatever the name of it is, You think that's even possible? I surely don't. See, this is why they don't want to hold hearings. This is why they are malfeasant. And they're certainly not living a Christian life to be hiding like that, stealing from the poor and calling yourselves Christians. It's just baffling to me. But I don't come on the air with this news show without sharing that with people and trying to emphasize that point. And I can't say it's over. It's not over yet. We'll still see. It's possible that people could change their mind, but this is a sad, sad circumstances here. And this is the kind of thing, you want to talk about the reputation of Mississippi for being slow and backward and doing god-awful things. Well, there you go. It's earned. It's an earned reputation. But the sad truth is there's too many people here that never want to see that change. They must be doing all right. They don't care. Very sad. So moving on to the other stories going on in Mississippi. From the Associated Press, eliminating the income tax does not require cutting expenditures or raising taxes in other areas, says the governor of the state, Jonathan Tate Reeves. Rather, he says it requires that our government live within its means. We live within its means, and apparently that includes stealing federal funds. The expansion of Capitol Police is a big priority in his new budget recommendations that he just released, and it's mandated in a law enacted over last year over objections of some residents who said it was a way for the white and Republican-controlled state government to steal power from local elected officials. Go figure. In the majority black city that is governed by Democrats. The Capitol Police territory expanded on July 1st. Well, I wish Mr. Bobby Harrison had, the Associated Press had expanded a little bit more on that, but the truth is now that the Capitol Police has jurisdiction over the entire black city of Jackson. The entire city. Now, on individual cases, it will get sifted out who take the lead with whether that's a chief of police, the Jackson Police Department, or whether that's the chief of the Capitol Police. But the bottom line is they can now patrol the entire city. They don't quite have the resources and manpower to do that, but that's why the governor's asking for even more money, more millions, for them to be able to do that. The article by the Associated Press points out that Reeves, who said during a 2022 appearance in Hattiesburg that it was, quote, as always, a great day to not be in Jackson, unquote, offered some praise for the capital city in his budget documents. Quote, it's a wonderful place filled with extraordinary You can't keep a straight face. It is a cultural hub for our state, and every person that lives or visits here deserves to feel safe. Despite the vast positives Jackson has to offer, it continued to grapple with a serious crime problem, unquote. Writing a state budget is a month-long process, usually includes agreement between the governor and legislative leaders on a revenue estimate, an educated guess at how much money the state can expect to collect based on economic trends. So obviously we're going to see how all this plays out, but the governor is back at it again, hitting the legislator up for more money for Capitol Police in our black governed city of Jackson, but they just supersede that. That's that whole HB 1020. The net result is that they ultimately supersede the authority in a number of different ways of our black elected governing officials here in Jackson, Hinds County. That's the net effect. That's the Trojan horse that they rolled in with HB 1020. Up in Lexington, Mississippi, big story, really big story, important story. It's a little bit lengthy. Listen, I'll try to get through it as quickly as I can, but months after her arrest by Lexington police, civil rights attorney Jill Colleen Jefferson has been found guilty of resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, failure to comply, and blocking a public roadway for filming a traffic stop. This is a black female attorney that's from up there. Jefferson has filed 2 lawsuits on behalf of black residents that accuse the Lexington police of mistreating them, and she complained about the force to the U.S. Department of Justice. Her Wednesday bench trial in Holmes County Justice Court lasted 1 day. On yesterday, Jefferson said the outcome was unjust because the judge, Marcus Fisher, did not consider evidence presented during the trial, including an affidavit from a former Lexington police officer who had knowledge that Jefferson's arrest was planned and targeted in response to her legal work. Despite an investigation by the Department of Justice, along with multiple lawsuits filed against the Lexington police, we continue to see a troubling and persistent level of harassment and abuse by the city of Lexington, she said in a Thursday statement. And what they're saying is harassment and abuse of black people in Holmes County, in Lexington, by the Pope Police Department up there. That's what she's saying. About a week before Jefferson's arrest, Assistant Attorney General, now we're talking Department of Justice here now, Civil Rights Division, Kristen Clark, she don't play, came to Lexington to hear concerns from residents and Jefferson about the local police department. In November 2023, listen here, In November 2023, the DOJ launched an investigation into the city of Lexington and the Lexington Police Department. You know they're not doing that by accident. Jefferson, who plans to appeal in the Holmes County Circuit Court, was ordered to pay $600 in fines for the 4 misdemeanor charges. She could have faced a maximum $500 fine and 6 months in county jail for each charge. She said Thursday, minutes before her trial, she and her attorney realized she had 2 additional misdemeanor charges right before they went into the courtroom. The people added 2 charges they didn't know nothing about, listed on her charging document, that weren't initially there. Operating a cell phone while driving and blocking a public road. The charge of operating a cell phone while driving was dismissed. Well, I wonder why that was dismissed. Why was that they dismissed that? But the blocking a public road was not. And this black female attorney saw injustice going on in a traffic stop, and she pulled her car over and got out the car and started filming it, and they did not like that. And that's what's behind all this stuff. So we're sorry for her, and we hope that goes well at the next level on her appeal. We ran right past the time for this segment, so we'll dip out. A couple of commercials. We'll be right back with you.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippilink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Welcome back to We Believe Digital Newsbreak. Chris Young with you today, just getting ready to boot up to the national and global news stories, and just reminding you that if you have any products or services, we would love to provide advertising for you on this We Believe Digital network. Give us a call, 1-800-492-5186. That's 800-492-5186. Love to do advertising, love to do your filming, love to help you set up your own podcast here. Got all kinds of good things going on, got all kinds of new faces, ideas. The voice of the community is just coming into this studio. I had a little dry spot, around the holidays, but everybody's picking back up again and going for it. So We Believe Digital, that's your go-to platform. On to national news, and very somber national news coming out of Dover, Delaware. President Joe Biden was in attendance with all the top military chiefs of staff and Dr. Jill Biden performing the solemn duties of his office Friday and attending the dignified transfer of the 3 American soldiers killed in Jordan this week in a drone strike that the U.S. has attributed to Iran-backed militant groups. At a prayer breakfast early yesterday morning, he said, "They risked it all, and we'll never forget the sacrifice and service to our country that the dozens of service members who were wounded, who are in recovery now, provided." The 3 reserve soldiers were all from Georgia, all African American. Their names are Sergeant William Jerome Rivers, 46 years old, of Carrollton. Specialist Kennedy LaDon Sanders, 24, of Waycross, Georgia, who posthumously promoted, I used to be able to pronounce that word, posthumously promoted a sergeant, and Specialist Brianna Alexandria Moffett, 23, of Savannah, who was also posthumously promoted to sergeant. I watched that on cable news today, and it was powerful. Not a word is ever spoken when that transfer is going on, and the silence of it is deafening. More news in the U.S. Job growth posted a surprise increase in January, demonstrating again the U.S. labor market is solid and poised to support broader economic growth. Non-farm payrolls expanded by 353,000 for the month, much better than the Dow Jones estimate of 185,000, and the Labor Department's Bureau of Statistics reported Friday. The employment rate held at 3.7%. The unemployment rate held at 3.7% against the estimate of 3.8%. Wage growth also showed strength, as average hourly earnings increased 0.6%, double the monthly estimate. On a year-over-year basis, wages jumped 4.5%, well above the 4.1% that were forecast. The wage gains came amid a decline in average hours worked, which went down slightly to 34.1. Job growth was widespread on the month, led by professional and business services, with 74,000 new jobs added. Other significant areas: healthcare, 70,000, retail trade, 45,000, government, 36,000, social assistance, 30,000, and manufacturing, 23,000. Move now to a story about a lady experiencing a diabetic problem on an airplane, and a football player helped her out. Looked like she had quite a lot of help. This is a story about the Baltimore Ravens player by the name of Mark Andrews. His team is now out of the hunt for the Super Bowl. They got eliminated by the Kansas City Chiefs, but Andrews was on an airplane to Phoenix, and he had a chance to help out, and it looked like it worked out. Said the star tight end teamed up with a nurse and a doctor on a January 29th flight to help a fellow passenger who was having a medical emergency. Southwest Airlines flight from Baltimore to Phoenix. The doctor and the nurse happened to be on board. Said the woman's blood pressure was low and they couldn't find a strong pulse, according to a post by another passenger. It was genuinely scary, said passenger Andrew Springs. Mark Andrews, the football player, is 28 years old, and he himself has type 1 diabetes. He popped up and asked if the problem was her blood sugar. He added that he had a diabetic testing kit with him on the plane. The 3-time Pro Bowl tight end instructed the doctor and nurse on how to use it, and they were able to get the woman stabilized. Paramedics met the plane right after it landed to attend to the woman. Everything worked out good. A man convicted of carrying out one of the most damaging data breaches in CIA's history, the public disclosure of secret hacking tools, was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison on yesterday. Former CIA officer Jonathan Adam Schulte, 45, convicted of the so-called Vault 7 leak, and also of processing child sexual abuse images. In 2 trials, these happened in 2 trials in 22 and 23, but the sentencing just happened yesterday. Damian Williams, U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York in Manhattan, said Thursday that Schulte had betrayed his country. He caused untold damage to our national security in his quest for revenge against the CIA for its response to Schulte's security breaches while employed there. Williams said in a statement after the sentence was imposed. The prosecutors had asked for life. They got 40 years for a 35-year-old man. Moving now to the Israel-Gaza issue. There's more news stories about this than, it's just countless news stories. I scan through many of them, and then I typically settle on what NBC News has. They have this area, kind of what we know, kind of say this is for sure what we know. Israel's military is set to push its offensive further south to Rafah, Gaza's southernmost city, after claiming to have, quote, dismantled Hamas in Khan Yunis after weeks of bombardment and intense ground operations. More than half of the Palestine enclave's population of 2.3 million are sheltering in Rafah. But that's where Israeli forces are headed. After fleeing the IDF's assault, the UN agency described the border city as a pressure cooker of despair. President Joe Biden is set to attend, okay, we already went through that, the dignified transfer and so forth. And Biden has settled on a counterattack plan that is expected to take place over the next few days, possibly weeks, officials told NBC News. Diplomats are awaiting a decision from Hamas on the framework for the proposed temporary ceasefire and hostage release deal. The militant gave an initial positive confirmation. Let's keep our fingers crossed. An initial positive confirmation, the Qatari foreign minister said. Israel War Cabinet is awaiting a response before starting further negotiations. Biden issued an executive order yesterday targeting Israeli settlers in the occupied West Bank following the fatal shooting of the 17-year-old American citizen there last month. 4 Israeli citizens involved in extremist settler activities have been sanctioned by the United States as of yesterday, which comes as the president faces growing domestic pressure over his approach to the war. I saw, just to deviate from this for a second, I saw a report shortly after putting this briefing together that said that a Monmouth poll said over 50% of Americans think Israel is going too far, and this has to stop. More than 27,000 people have been killed in Gaza since the war began, according to the Palestinian Health Ministry. More than 66,000 have been injured, and thousands more are missing and presumed dead. Israeli military officials say at least 223 soldiers have been killed during the ground offensive of Gaza. About 1,200 were killed and 240 hostages taken after Hamas's multi-pronged attacks into Israel on October 7th. Pivoting to the war in Ukraine, the leaders of the 27 European Union countries sealed a deal yesterday to provide Ukraine with a new 50 billion euro, which is $54 billion support package for its war-ravaged economy, despite weeks of threats from Hungary to veto the move. European Council President Charles Michel announced the agreement that was reached in the first hour of the summit he was chairing in Brussels. Quote, "We have a deal," Michel said in a post. He said the agreement locks in steadfast, long-term, predictable funding for Ukraine and demonstrates that the EU is taking a leadership and responsibility and support for Ukraine. We know what is at stake. So much going on in the world. That does it for us today for this Newsbreak broadcast, and we certainly thank you for joining us. You can pick up the show at any time on demand, either WeBelieveDigital.com, on our YouTube channel, We Believe Digital, on our Facebook channel, We Believe Digital Facebook. Always have to have you on board. Click that like button, share it with your friends, subscribe so you get the alerts, and let's keep this thing moving. Hope you have a great weekend. You can always go to the Visit Jackson website if you want to see different activities that are going on this weekend. And take care of each other, and we'll see you back next Wednesday at 3 p.m.